Hey everybody, Mark Schultz here, and I'm doing another video segment here today with my friend Jerry Cutler. Jerry, hi, how are you?
Hey, Mark, I'm well. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Hey, we're focusing on digital transformation again today. Topic for today is technology and the OEMs, all right? How is technology helping OEMs be more efficient and have better products? That's really the question that we have on the table here. Jerry is with me, and Jerry has a history of working for airlines and manufacturers, but today our focus is really on OEMs or manufacturers, all right? So, Jerry, let's talk about technology and OEMs. So, how does technology really affect OEMs? Digital transformation affect OEMs? Really, what is this topic really all about? Where do we go with this?
Well, I think in any kind of an operation, and an OEM has an operation, they are manufacturing. They are about efficiency of the operation, and it gets down to how to produce the same product or a better product at a lower level of effort. So it's best use of resources is what it boils down to, and you can only go so far if you're working with, I'll call it paper as an example of a tangible as opposed to a technology. Manufacturers have to continue to utilize improved technology because you can only go so far with that paper technology. Mm-hmm. And so they look at what's going on in other industries, in the high-tech industries, and it's not just the Microsofts of the world, but there are a lot of all sizes of companies out there that are developing new things. And as they do that, manufacturers can think about and work on how to take new bits of technology and incorporate them into both their manufacturing and into their products and solutions, because they have to manufacture based on efficiency of manufacturing, but they have to keep in mind their customers and how their customers are going to use their solution. And so they have to manufacture based on efficiency of the operation of their solution as well. And that's the critical piece, and that's really the game changer, is helping your customer be technologically advanced by being technologically advanced yourself.
Boy, in manufacturing, there's so many different aspects of digital that transformation that can apply. I mean, whether it be in initial manufacturing, or whether it be in the operations, in the overhaul or assembly, or whether it be in analytics or data coming back into the process. Wow, I mean, I would think that you have so many areas that you could focus on, that could bring together technology in order to be able to optimize that environment. I mean, really, Jerry, where do you start? What do you do with all that?
That's the advantage of being a larger manufacturer. In some cases, it helps you to be able to test multiple things. So as an example, in the case of an aircraft, you can use a vendor who's bringing a new engine to you, and you can play the devil's advocate with that vendor, because the vendor has to meet certain performance requirements with their product. The OEM who's putting the engine together with an airframe can test that and provide feedback to the engine manufacturer. The engine manufacturer can continue to improve. At the same time, the OEM is doing the same process with instrumentation in the flight deck, for example. You've got vendors who are doing certain things, and so you can work as a team back and forth and to improve them. And that can all be driven by not just, in the old days, you had to go travel the world and talk to a lot of customers and say, what's good, what's bad. And I've done some of that, traveling around the world, asking what's good and what's bad. But by incorporating technology to not only the manufacturing, but the operation, you can obtain data. The operators will share the data with you, and you'll get a lot more information rather than just raw data that you can take to a manufacturer of an engine, or a flight deck instrument, or a galley, or seats. It allows you to leverage that data that you've obtained through technology to improve other technology, and that's truly leveraging the data that comes from having the technology. if you don't have the technology, you can still get the data, but the data it's disproportionately costly to get the data and compile it and analyze it. So once again, it improves your operation. It improves the speed with which you can get the data, you can analyze the data, you can use the data, and guess what that means? You get better throughput in your factory, your customers are happier, and you're spending less money to accomplish those goals.
So Jerry, in your business, what do you actually do for somebody? If you, like, you told me about a situation where you had a local, manufacturer or an OEM that you were working with in order to be able to help them to optimize their manufacturing processes or things. But I'm making assumptions, but just may help me understand, what do you do when you engage with somebody like that? What kind of services, do you actually offer to somebody like that?
So we like to baseline an operation before we, I get back to that old philosophy of diagnose and prescribe. So we take a look at the operation, and the one that I was talking about before, we actually went in and we baselined a process flow at a function level, from a sales campaign to they delivered the product and earned their money. And by doing that and mapping their challenges at a high level, at that function level, it allowed us to then work with them and say, okay, it appears you've got some challenges here. What data do you have to help quantify how severe that problem is? And by doing that, and in their case, they had a fair amount of data, but it was in disparate systems. So bringing it together was a technology challenge or a manual process challenge initially, but had to move to technology. That allowed us to say, okay, we're going to work on a solution here, here, and here. And then we drilled down in the weeds to validate we were really solving the specific piece of the root cause. And in some cases, it can be very simple. It was standardized workflow, for example, in one area. In other areas, it may be more complex. It may be relationships with vendors. It may even be the corporate culture. It's the way they've done business for decades, and there's that momentum to not change. So we work with them to resolve their internal problems at the same time, and this is critical, at the same time, we work to help them understand their customers and what their customers' true needs are. So we reinforce a customer-vendor philosophy. So everybody throughout a factory is a customer or a vendor at some point. And helping them understand that and change the philosophy. Instead of it's, the customer is the guy that takes it when it goes out the door. There are a lot of customers internally to an operation. And that's philosophy, but we can leverage that with the data. We can reinforce it with the data. We can show you're making progress with the data that they were not, that particular one I mentioned to you, they really weren't seeing it because they weren't seeing the information. There wasn't analysis happening on the data because the data was too hard to get.
Okay,
and
so
the technology helped that.
Jerry, I'm a business and I got a lot of smart people internally. I can just do this myself, right? I mean, why do I need to ask for help on the outside? What for?
So that's a great question, and the answer maybe you can. And I've worked with several customers who said exactly that. We can do that. Who had whole teams to do that. And maybe, and this is my feeling, maybe having someone from the outside come in with a different set of eyes and look at your operation and say, why are you doing that? Well, we've done that for 20 years. But why are you doing that? Is it really efficient? I'll give you a totally different example. I left the aviation industry for 4 years. I was a department head at a medical center. I went back into aviation to start up an airline, and I looked at the industry very differently than I had before I had that 4-year hiatus in a totally different industry. So even though we're in the same industry, I'm coming at things from a different airline background than what you might have or someone else might have, or a different factory background with my time at Boeing. And it makes a tremendous difference in how you look at things. You've heard the expression before, and we use it all the time with our people. You know, I've worked at 2 airlines. I've worked with dozens of airlines, and I wouldn't say dozens of factories, but a good handful of factories. And yet, when you've seen one airline or one factory, you've seen one airline or one factory.
I think
because
I remember
each one is different.
A friend of ours that says that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. and he didn't start it either. Somebody else way smarter than us started it. But that's true. You know that I spent a good portion of my time at Boeing helping Boeing people understand their customers. And these were people who'd been at Boeing for 10, 20, 30 years. And they never thought about their customers.
Yeah. You know, Jerry, I think I've worked with about 200 companies over my career. You know, I don't even have a number anymore at this point in time. But you're right. I have seen so many different things and so many different processes and things. And, you know, many times I meet with people that have worked with like one company for 40 years, and that's great. And I've never been able to do that. But I definitely have a different perspective, you know, and I see what you're saying is that it gives you a different perspective when you bring that collective knowledge in. And let me bring this next point out is that one of the reasons that that I've formed this group, Aviation Professionals for Digital Aircraft Technology or Operations, is that many people need to come together and share our knowledge to be able to advance digital transformation faster. And it's really the collective sharing of knowledge like this, which is really going to help us to do that. You know, Hey, Jerry, if people want to get in touch with you to talk to you about using your services, how do they do that?
2 ways are easiest. There's my website, envisionaviationadvisors.com, or just eaviationadvisors.com, or ping me on LinkedIn. I'm on it every day.
Excellent. All right. Very good. Well, listen, hey, Jerry, thanks for this exchange today. It was really informative. I appreciate it. Hey, for the rest of you out there, I appreciate you watching this video. In our efforts to move forward in digital transformation, you know, I believe that there are 3 steps to it. It's belief, it's understanding your operation and what the opportunities are, and the infusion of technology, putting those together and making things happen. But most of all, it's enthusiasm, and it's the sharing of knowledge between us. And that's the purpose for this, is to share knowledge. And I appreciate you taking time to watch this video today. And I wish you a good day. Fair winds and following seas to you. Have a great day. Bye, Jerry.
Bye.